let's start off with GameStop, which is what a what a story. After our talk last week with MSTR and trying to understand the Stripe preferred shares, the preferred stock,
Mhm.
um, GameStop decides it's going to add Bitcoin to its treasury, which caused a 15% rally in the stock,
Right.
which people hailed as, hey, this is going to be great. Other companies should do the same thing. And then it promptly reversed 25% down, giving up all the entire gains and some of the non-Bitcoin gains for a while. I am really struggling now with this MicroStrategy Bitcoin treasury ecosystem that's like bleeding out. And it seems almost clear that GameStop decided it wanted to do this, that the board decided it wanted to do this because they needed to like distract from the fact that their sales are just not doing very well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play before we start here a clip from Fox Business News where an analyst was talking about this GameStop thing. So this is, just keep in mind, this is when it had the 15% rise, right? So before the drop, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Hey, Charles, they coming back on. Listen, as to
Yep.
their almost $5 billion they have in cash, again, no debt, by the way. We think they should put at least half of that amount, at least $2.5 billion, should go into Bitcoin at this point. The problem that Ryan Cohen, excellent CEO, has is that he should have made these moves a year or 2 years ago. When Bitcoin was 30, 40, $50,000.
But that's what an infant, right?
That
That doesn't matter anymore, right? That's in the past. But for the future, you say this is a good approach, though.
Absolutely. It's a great special situation stock. We played AMC. We did well there. We used Trump Media, did well there. We think GameStop is going to 50 on this move, ultimately $100, because this is now a $13 billion hedge fund that's got the ability to invest in Bitcoin, which is just getting started, is the best supply demand story there is. We applaud Ryan Cohen on this excellent move.
So another.
Hey, Charles, they coming back on. Listen.
Did I just hear him refer to GameStop as a hedge fund?
Yes, exactly. Can you believe that? Can you believe you could go on national TV and just from a vertical research, you're not gonna hear from me, and with a straight face say one GameStop should have put 50% of their reserve holdings into one of the most volatile assets in the world.
Yeah.
And then call it that this should have been done years ago when Bitcoin was 30,000, as if there was a promise that it should go up higher than that. Like 30,000 was just as crazy as it was now at 80,000, and that it's a hedge fund. Look, Mike, this whole thing where the idea that these companies are going to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet was supposed to help support their business practices. Like ostensibly that was the case.
Okay.
Now they're flat out referring to these things as just financial vehicles. Basically, if you'd be stupid if the whole stock market didn't become a derivative of Bitcoin. What on earth am I seeing here? This is crazy. These are grown people.
Yeah, it's hard to analyze the company if they're trying to use another vehicle that we can't really predict cash flows on in order to get a sense of what their future value is. All they're doing is incorporating a speculative asset into the value of their company by purchasing and retaining Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I'm struggling with this. This isn't a very good play for investors to rally around, potential earnings growth in the future. At least for me, I think my struggle is definitely around trying to make sense of GameStop's business model, and I'm not seeing it here. Why the Bitcoin thing feels like more of a distraction than anything else. And certainly, if you have to reframe the company as a hedge fund, then you're in trouble.
When other people start referring to your own company as a thing that it's not, then I mean, come on. What are they just going to change their name like MicroStrategy? They dropped the micro. Is GameStop just going to call themselves Stop? Just get out of the whole game business altogether.
Sure.
So a couple of points over here that I thought was interesting, and actually I'm about to left turn here and try to I'm going to Quentin Tarantino it and tell you that at the end of this I'm going to make the small case for bullish GameStop.
Okay.
But not for the reasons that they're talking about. So the idea is that they have $4.775 billion in cash reserves, And like the guy was saying, cash is like, ugh, gross. Who wants $4 billion worth of cash? I'd rather have half of that instead of a high volatile asset. But they're not deciding to just take some of their existing cash stockpile in order to buy it. They decided to issue convertible bonds, one
Mm-hmm.
point something $billion worth of 1.8, 1.5 of convertible bonds, 1.3 at 0% interest, and and it's run till what is it, 2030? I can't remember the month, but 2030. Obviously at a higher price than what GameStop trades at now. So the idea is that you're to buy this debt that is at the top of the debt stack. So bankruptcies are going to get paid off first, and but since they have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, for sure when Bitcoin hits 250,000, 400,000, whatever, a million, GameStop is going to be worth that much more, and you'll be able to convert your bonds into the common stock and make a bundle. So very low risk and high reward leverage play on Bitcoin. Okay. Okay, I hear this. Why, if that's what you want, why wouldn't you just buy MSTR? Why don't you buy Strife and Strike? Like, if you want to do that whole, I want to buy a company that's leveraged, whatever, to Bitcoin, just buy the MSTR, because they're not saying that this Bitcoin holdings will help make their business better. There is no mention about their core business at all with this. It's just we're going to take this money to buy more Bitcoin.
Right.
So if it's not to make the core business better, well, go to the OG of that, to MSTR, and ride that all the way up. The thing here that I find very interesting is that short interest went up drastically on GameStop,
Mm.
and some people are putting this at let me just pull it up over here, that the volume that you're seeing for the short interest uh, compared with the shares that are outstanding is suggesting that they're naked shorting the stock. That people are naked shorting the stock, which means people are sort of like gassed up a little bit here, at least in the the Reddit threads and the Twitter threads, that we could have a GameStop meme explosion part
Round
two.
two.
Exactly.
Fair.
So the idea here is that um, it could cause imagine, so the stock is already down, and we can imagine that we have some of the selling pressure because of the stock market as a whole being down right now. So when I was actually taking a look at the options, you know me, I'm always going to go for the for the options on these things, for these crazy plays, and you take a look at GameStop. Actually, let me pull up my screen. I love long shots like this. They're just so fun. So GameStop, let's say by June, and let's say, I'm saying by June because we'll see in the next story that I do think Bitcoin gets to all-time highs by June. So let's say that that's the case, that you're buying this because you think it's Bitcoin's going to run, and let's call it $30, $30 per option contract. Sorry, the $30 strike, so $200 per option contract. I'm in the wrong one here. Long call GME by June 30th, just for quick sake. Then you can get anywhere from 40 to 100% on the trade if Bitcoin really rips from here. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, that's not a very juicy return for these options. Putting out 200 just to get 100% return. That's not crypto level stuff. I might as well just buy Bitcoin.
And that, of
Um,
course, estimates no change in implied volatility, which, with where
correct.
they're at right now, I would expect there would be a rise in IV, just because the price is still pulling back from here. I would expect that if GME were to continue to pull back, they would head somewhere around $17 a share.
Right. Well, the guy on that Fox Business, he was suggesting $50 a share is what his price target would be because of this whole run up.
Got it.
And if that were the case, you could be in the 7 to 10x territory for the option.
One thing
Um,
I can say that would support this thesis is that GameStop is currently in an 82% drawdown from peak. Their volatility is so high. If I can share my screen,
yeah,
let's see, do I already have it shared? Yeah, there we go. their volatility is so high that I can only really look at it on a logarithmic chart. If I use the linear chart, it's impossible to even understand where the trend is.
Yeah.
So putting it on the log chart, we're actually at an 82% drawdown from this peak from 2021, which was of course the first round of the GME
Madness.
meme craze, if you will.
Yeah.
So this drawdown is pretty significant, and there's a fairly obvious support zone somewhere here at about 1750. So I can definitely see that pulling back even further, and it would be interesting to start buying right in and around that zone, unless you're selling puts, of course. But that puts it at almost an 87% drawdown from peak overall. Now, my issue with GameStop overall, though, is that even in its current price, it's still significantly overvalued. Fair value should be somewhere around $7.34. Past performance is shaky at best. As what I've noticed is even since 2021, it's just been a volatile mixture of earnings improving and then not improving. These last couple of years have looked a lot more positive. Of course, they're actually back into profitability territory, which is certainly promising. But I think they're relying a lot on recent performance to bolster more than sort of the long-term average of everything. The future growth rates also don't look as impressive as the past performance was. So in the past, they were seeing about a 40% earnings growth rate. They're only expected to grow by about 12% in the future. So, even analysts are not really expecting much more upside from here. So it just feels like the Bitcoin story is just a way to kind of gain some attention again, if you will.
I was trying to see other companies that were doing this Bitcoin play, because there are some companies that are keeping Bitcoin on the balance sheet, like aside from the miners that are listed,
Sure.
but they're not really trying to make it as a play for that they're not trying to do that whole financial engineering thing that MSTR is doing, that we should be a proxy now for Bitcoin. And GameStop seems to be leaning in that direction, that they want to be seen in that sort of vein, which really makes me nervous. So the so anyways, that would be the play. You can play the options on that. I don't see why you wouldn't just buy the underlying Bitcoin or buy MSTR, but it'll be very interesting to see if GameStop takes off and it does rip for whatever reason, because structurally it does rip. To see what other companies jump into the game, because I think it'll be like to me it'll be like a red herring of, hey, any company that's doing this, stay far away from. Just expect that their business is doing way worse than you think. Because why on earth would you do this?
Mm-hmm.
0% coupon. TradersPost is an automated trading platform designed to take the friction out of executing your strategies. Whether you're trading stocks, futures, or crypto, TradersPost connects seamlessly to your broker or exchange, giving you the flexibility to automate your trades without missing a beat. If you're tired of being the bottleneck in your own success, it's time to let automation do the heavy lifting. Head over to traderspost.io and see how easy it is to streamline your trading. TradersPost, because your strategy deserves to run at full speed.